Good morning, and it's a welcome in. We're right here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. We're live out in London with the New England Patriots looking pesky. Or maybe the Jaguars are just looking terrible. They've been terrible throughout this season, fellas. Why stop now? 7-0 the Patriots lead. I'm excited for this one. I'm involved with this one, but it is just an appetizer, if that. Maybe chips and dip for what is, I think, so far our best Sunday slate. It features a Super Bowl rematch. It features an unbeaten NFC team and maybe the best NFC team on the other side of that field. Saquon Barkley goes back home. Everything is up in the air. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined by Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi. Joe, it's a great Sunday.
It really is. And that game, Detroit and Minnesota, that's a dominant game to see which team is the best in the NFC North. Detroit playing very well. How about the game tonight, Donnie, in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
We'll see Russell Wilson under center taking over for Justin Fields. What do you get out of Devontae Adams and potentially this New York Jet team after they laid an egg on Monday night against Buffalo?
I love the slate today. The 1 o'clock slate, absolutely action-packed. You take a look at the 4 o'clock slate Super Bowl rematch that we're going to have, which means that the Kansas City Chiefs put their perfect record in play on the road. Andy Reid off a bye, tremendous 21-4. We'll see if that holds up, but also I love the night game. There is so much intrigue to this game. Which quarterback's going to start? How does he actually play? The New York Jets now taking a look at adding a wide receiver, Kevin, and another Pro Bowler to the roster here might be appearing shortly as well. A little tease option.
Busy week for the Jets. Just keeps on getting busier. The breaking news early this morning, Haason Reddick will be back with the Jets. All he had to do was, fire his agent?
Yeah,
I mean,
much.
the whole situation there is pretty interesting. You know, it's sometimes these holdouts, it feels like very often the end result is people going, see, terrible job by the player. I won't hear it. Haason Reddick, massive winner. All fines were waived, Donnie. Shows up with the Jets and alongside, Devontae Adams. He gets kind of the 10-bell treatment now. There's a lot of juice and excitement there. Not expected to play in tonight's big game for Pittsburgh, but all of a sudden, everything's coming up Jets outside of the fact that they have lost 3 straight games.
The interesting part about it is you should be buying back in on the Jets. They added one of the best wide receivers in football, one of the best pass rushers in football, to an already competent offense as long as their quarterback plays well, and a defense that already projects to be a top 10 in the NFL, Joe.
Yeah, the problem that I have with buying into the New York Jets right now, especially in this game against Pittsburgh, is the continuity, right? We saw it on Monday night. They were in that matchup. They get the Hail Mary. They're down by 3 points, can't pull it out. What happens to the locker room should they drop this game, even with Devontae Adams, even with potentially Haason Reddick on deck, right? What does the locker room do? That is the biggest question mark. So from a talent perspective, guys, I could buy in potentially over the win total, potentially a flyer, maybe on an AFC championship ticket or a playoff ticket. But I can't do it right now. I need to see them get back to 500, prove to me that you're dialed in on the season, and then I'll buy back in at that point.
The reality for the Jets is their season is on the line tonight. A win here, and we can have some real conversations, but it's more about what a loss would do. Not just the 4th straight 2-5, but Pittsburgh is one of the teams that the Jets will be trying to nudge out for a playoff spot. You cannot keep losing these games. You cannot keep losing these tiebreakers. They've already lost one to a team like the Denver Broncos, who we were covering on Thursday. Now, one team that will not be in the wild card race, that's the Kansas City Chiefs. They show up, they win the West. Simple and easy as that. They're 5-0. In fact, the idea, I think, for everybody is they show up, they win the AFC, and maybe somehow they'll not win the Super Bowl, but they probably will because it's Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. They just find a way. Well, their toughest task is now on the table today against the team they beat in last year's Super Bowl in the San Francisco 49ers. KC, off of a bye, has this game under a field goal. We saw last year's Niners lay a lot of points to everyone, no matter where. Just a 1.5, 2-point number today, Joe.
Yeah, and it's a slightly different roster, right? Without Christian McCaffrey and now Jordan Mason a little bit banged up. So Jawan Jennings is gone as well in this matchup. How does San Francisco respond? They opened up as a 1.5-point home dog. Now they're favorites in this ball game. And again, they do have the number one ranked and rushing attack in all of the NFL. So it's next man up. As long as the offensive line is getting on their blocks and they're opening up holes, potentially they can score some points in this matchup. The problem is what are you going to get out of Brock Purdy? And it's not to say, that he hasn't produced. They have the fourth best passing offense in the NFL. But in this spot, going up against Mahomes, can he pull it out? Can he show that he can carry this team if the rushing attack isn't there against the Kansas City Chiefs? That's what I want to see play out tonight.
Yeah, Mason back, full practice on Friday, should be good to go. Deebo Samuel also full practice on Friday, should be good to go. We watched that game live here. We had a little bit of a hand issue, wrist issue. It doesn't look like that's going to be an issue. The one thing we have to make sure of, Kansas City's not going to go undefeated this year. They're going to have to lose in some spots. Now, it's a great spot for them because they are playing a tough Kansas City team, a tough 49ers team, but they do come off the bye, which is a huge advantage when you have Andy Reid as your quarterback. But they're not as talented as the San Francisco 49ers today, and I like the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. If Brock Purdy's going to play well, I do believe that. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, I think, has a big game. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in football, been an absolute red zone terror so far this season. And if Mason comes back and is healthy, which we're anticipating for today, I just think they're the better football team, Joe.
No, they are. I mean, on paper they are, right? But when these teams have matched up last year,
Super Bowl.
They had them dead to rights.
Nightmare.
They couldn't stop them. And when you see Kansas City and you see the type of players that they have, Juju with a dominant performance, right? Kareem Hunt, they scrape him off the street. He comes back with 102 yards on the ground to dominate New Orleans. They just find ways and find players and find game plans to just mismatch their opponent. And as long as, and I know we'll get into this, as long as Pat Mahomes is under center, I find it very difficult to go against him.
And we will get into it and get into it next. I almost have to wonder, did we just get into it a little bit longer than anticipated because you guys are trying on talking a little bit more about the New England Patriots.
Oh, really?
And Drake May.
By the way, can I just say
7-0 lead?
7-0 league. May looks good right now.
Yeah.
The Jaguars look like they quit, but they just had an interesting sequence, Kevin. Right before they ended the first quarter, back-to-back offsides penalties on the Jaguars. One was Haika went offside. The other one, Kevin, nobody was moving, and Jacksonville just went offsides. Tremendous.
Yeah, the Jags are. Here's the funny thing, right? I mean, Drake May looks good. He looked as good as you could look in a 20-point blowout last week. I mean, the numbers were nice. He threw 3 passing touchdowns against the Houston Texans, 240-plus passing yards. Drake May is lighting up Jacksonville to start this game. Joe, I know the temptation is going to be to talk about what this means for Jacksonville. We will. We will follow this game throughout our morning. But if you are the New England Patriots, you have to be pleased with the first 5 quarters of Drake May football.
He's the future of the franchise, right? And they're opening up the offense. Even though the playmakers are limited in terms of elite wide receiver talent, they're calling plays to at least allow Drake May to show his skills. And that is the biggest thing. Forget this year for New England. We knew they had a 4.5 win total. We knew that the weapons were limited. It's about developing talent, Donnie, and getting ready in year number 2 for Drake May. And that's why, even though it was against the Texans, it was the right move to get him acclimated, to get big game experience. And now he's starting to produce against a team with their backs against the wall. This is a pretty good showing overall.
And I got to tell you, too, if it's Drake May gets inserted into the starting lineup, the team isn't very talented, but anybody could have been better than what Jacoby Brissett was bringing to the table. But last week did make some good throws, did make some mistakes. He's a rookie, but he's really playing this game in the pocket, making the plays that he needs to with his legs, and also throwing some pretty good check down passes, which the running backs and the tight ends are able to take advantage of. 10-0 New England here. They look way better than Jacksonville.
Minus 142, New England's money line. Jacksonville getting too much respect, or do they feel live to you guys in this game now?
They feel dead on arrival right now.
Are they checked out?
Yeah.
It seems like they want to go home.
Again, and this is kind of where for you, the Patriots, 2-5, bye. The Jaguars, 2-5, who cares? 1-6, get us out of here, man. We want to go home. We've been in London way too long. We go to the Bay. The Super Bowl rematch is next.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Pro Football Today, we break down the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. The favorites in the AFC go to the favorites in the NFC. The odds are suggesting that this Super Bowl rematch is the first of a pair of Super Bowl rematches that we could get this season between the Niners and the Chiefs. 1.5 to 2 points is your spread. The total for this game, flat 47s with some 47s and a halves out there. The money lines for Kansas City as good as plus 115. The Niners as low as minus 122. And for me, I look at this game, and as Donnie alluded to, chills down my spine. I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch it. Everybody's excited, and I'm still annoyed. A Super Bowl that Kansas City never should have won. A run last year that was littered, not with excellent play by Mahomes or Kelsey. No, it was littered by coaching incompetence and impossible to understand decisions on the other side of the field. Though Kyle Shanahan has made a habit of that in the Super Bowl. The Kyle special, double-digit lead, and then proceed to lose that football game. But it's the regular season, Donnie, so the MO could be a little bit different. I'm leaning Niners. I'm backing my guy. We'll get to that in a different capacity. What are you seeing here for the Super Bowl rematch?
I think it's the 49ers today. If we honestly, play it out the way it's supposed to be played. Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's a bye. They're supposed to automatically win. Not necessarily. This isn't the same Kansas City team that we've seen. But then you can say, well, Donnie, in the offseason, you said as long as Andy Reid and also Patrick Mahomes are going to be active for a football game, that's all you care about. Technically so. They're just not as talented. The wide receiving core, Watson, Smith-Schuster, and Worthy. Kelsey, basically on one leg from where he was 2.5 years ago at this point. Kareem Hunt still fresh off the couch trying to get those words. And you're on the road here. Now, I do like the offensive line for Kansas City, but they have one major weakness, Joe. Both of the tackles. You are going to get a great pass rush out of the San Francisco 49ers today. So if I want to start to my keys to the game to open this one up, it's the offensive line of Kansas City keeping Patrick Mahomes upright in the pocket.
And it might be Pat Mahomes running the football in terms of man-to-man coverage. We've seen him make plays with his legs. He's coming off a 331-yard performance. No touchdowns, but the interception. He does a great job of just locating open wide receivers, right? He found Kelsey early on against New Orleans, found Juju in the second half when the game was on the line. Maybe this is an Xavier Worthy type of game, right? He was non-existent in the receiving game a couple of weeks ago, and this could be an opportunity to really showcase why they took him in the first round. So he's a speedster, could run off San Francisco's defense, and we saw Seattle move the football. They didn't move it consistently with Kenneth Walker. He only had 34 yards on the ground. Now, granted, they fell behind, so the running attack was taken out somewhat. But I think they throw the football on San Fran. I think maybe a little tempo, and they look to get the lead and then do what they always do, right? Rely on the defense.
Yeah, do what they always do. Sit on the ball, let the game be close, and hope the opponent beats themselves. Nobody's going to be like, man, does Kevin hate this Kansas City? No, I hate this Kansas City team. I cannot stand this team. To have the juice that they're supposed to have and provide the most unenjoyable games on a consistent basis is not exciting to me. It's not. I hope they get drilled. I hope that they lose this game by 100 points here today. But the Niners are not on my card, not because I fear Kansas City. It's because I respect Kansas City off of a bye. It is the perfect spot for this team to be in because, again, for some reason, the MVP award is already at Mahomes' house despite having 6 touchdowns and 6 picks and not looking anywhere near one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. No, because Andy Reid should right now have top 5 Coach of the Year odds. Pacheco, gone. Hollywood Brown never plays a game. Rashee Rice, injured by Mahomes. That should count against him in the MVP race. Yet it doesn't matter. They consistently are in a good position to win. That's always credited to Mahomes. Apparently he's coaching up Nick Bolton and Chris Jones the entire way. I mix no words about it. I cannot stand it. The conversation is nauseating. It suggests nobody is watching these games. Did they win? Gosh, this guy Pat. I mean, is anybody doing it like him? No, nobody out there is playing this mediocre and getting this much praise. So I want to see today what you're talking about, Joe. Them show up and score because the Niners defense, despite having all the talent in the world, the best linebacker in the league, one of the best pass rushers in the world, they've had the ball moved on them this season. So Kansas City should be able to move it. I don't trust them to do anything. There's no reason to ever trust them to move the ball.
No, but Pat Mahomes is a big reason. I mean, it's a quarterback-centric type of league, and you can make the argument to the MVP that, Lamar Jackson got it last year yes, he had numbers, but it was based off the team's record, right?
That is why he won. He was a terrible MVP.
But
Didn't deserve it at all.
But that's why you're seeing Pat Mahomes at the front right now because the Chiefs are undefeated because of how they're doing it. And again, if his numbers tail off and the Chiefs lose 3 straight the way the Niners did, he's not going to be in the front running anymore. So it just comes down to this team finds ways to get it done, right? And with Pat Mahomes, that's won 3 Super Bowls. From the gambling perspective, it's very difficult to get off of that, right? Off of that type of situation. But I still believe they can move the football. I'm not sold on San Francisco being an elite defense. We've seen teams move it on them. Arizona put up 27 points. Kyler had success. They ran it. They threw it. So I think everything's on the table. And again, when you have Andy Reid coming out of a bye, great success, the ability to game plan, I think all the pressure's back on San Francisco to prove that they were deserving of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got issues today if San Francisco loses. You want to say, what do you mean? 5-0 Kansas City? They're going to be 6. Like, it's okay they lost that game. No, it's not. Sometimes you got to put that foot in the ground and say, okay, our 2024 season is now finally underway. I think this is the game to do it. And if you're looking at interactions between Steve Spagnuolo on defense going up against Kyle Shanahan, that's going to be one to watch. But if we're looking at levels, better wide receivers, San Francisco, better offensive line for me, San Francisco, better running back for me, San Francisco, better tight end this season, San Francisco. The only thing you don't have, again, is Patrick Mahomes. So if you're just laying this football game out and say, it's Mahomes, you don't have him and take him, I understand. I'm with San Francisco today.
Again, similarly, MV Purdy over 1.5 passing touchdowns at -102 through 3 last week. So far this season, is 7 of the 9 touchdowns allowed by KC have been through the air. Brock Purdy's MVP number gets on the move with a win. This is one of 2 monster games. We go to Lions-Vikings next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here on SportsGrid. I got to tell you, when we were lining up week number 7, we knew Niners-Chiefs would be big.
Yeah.
I did not know that we were going to have a game that you could argue is just as bigger. I mean, if you want to get crazy, 5-0 against 4-1, division favorite on the line. It's very possible that conference favorite is on the line.
Yeah.
Let's get crazy. Could Super Bowl favorite be on the line?
Yeah.
With a win here?
I'm with it.
It's possible.
I'm buying.
It's possible.
I'm buying.
We've got the Minnesota Vikings laying 1.5 points at home, Donnie, to maybe becoming your Detroit Lions. Big game here in the NFC North.
I mean, I love this. This game is absolutely fantastic. Now, understand this. As we set up the 2 biggest games of the day, old school Donnie Rightside would say, let's just go 2012, 2013, 2014. Let me get this straight here. Team off a bye, unbeaten on the season, maybe not getting enough respect as they should on both sides here. I'd be eating up Kansas City and also the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not doing that. And sometimes I let my eyes deceive me at times in my older age because I love everything that the Detroit Lions are doing right now, Kevin. Defensively, offensively, and coming into the season, I said Detroit would have the best offense in the NFL. Why? Predicated on the best offensive line, the best running game, legitimate wide receivers, a top, 3 play caller in Ben Johnson, maybe in some circles the best overall. So I'll start there. I'm looking at the Lions to go in and say, we are the best team in this division. We are the best team in this conference. We're going to show it today, Joe.
I agree with them, and he's old as dirt. Don't make no mistake about it.
Born
he
in
is
71.
old.
Born in 71.
I'll say this with the breakdown. The way Jared Goff has played over the past couple of weeks, 36 of 43 completions, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns. They torched the Dallas secondary. Jamison Williams steps up, big touchdown, right? 3 catches, 76 yards. Laporta. They just have multiple weapons, and they're just, the continuity on the offensive line is just coming together. They're protecting Jared Goff. They're running the football. The defense is forcing turnovers on multiple occasions. They're just finding ways to dominate teams. It might be close for a half, but then they just find ways to pull away in the second half. They did it against Seattle, right, in the fourth quarter. When I look at this game, the biggest concern for me, guys, is Sam Darnold, right? Second half against the Jets, he did not look good. 179 yards in that game. I think they're going to have to run it a little bit more. We know Aaron Jones banged up and out. Ty Chandler, can he do exactly what Aaron Jones does in that offense? And this has to be a JJ game, Kev. I mean, if anybody's going to break out, I took JJ over the 91.5. He's got to get to 125 to take the pressure off everybody else in that lineup.
So I think this is a really tricky game for me where Minnesota is in, an incredible spot. You are at home off a bye against a team who just had probably the best performance in the history of their head coach.
Right.
And we try and sell high, right? But the number, I cannot bet. I've watched the Vikings play every single one of these teams this season and catch points. Every single one of them. Detroit just went to Dallas and laid 3.5. And I was a little bit surprised to see that number, right? I bet Dallas last week obviously got punched around with black and blues. That's fine. That's how it is. But to see now Detroit, I know it's slight. I know it's small, but it all matters to me. A dog in this game. The Vikings being a full 4.5 points better than the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. That still sounds like a lot. Maybe I'm holding on to some Cowboys priors too much. It's just one of those things where in a perfect world, this is Detroit -3. I'm on Minnesota, eyes closed. Let's hope for the best. At the number, I can't get there. What I can get to, though, is Amon-Ra St. Brown bouncing back in a monster way. A pair of games under 75 receiving yards. Well, he will step up like every single number one wide receiver so far, Donnie, has against this Minnesota defense, because they'll put teams sometimes behind the 8 ball, and you got to go who do you trust the most. If you look, the number one wideouts, they face 5 of them, are averaging 100 yards per game. And they're stars. Don't get me wrong that they've gone against Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, but all of these guys are getting through 75+. Amon-Ra does the same.
And also, Amon-Ra is a wonderful red zone threat. And say, well, he's a good wide receiver, understandably, but he's not that big stature guy we're throwing fades in the back of the end zone to. He's unbelievable with that slip screen inside the 5 to 10 yard line to get in the end zone, or just making a great move around the pylon. Hear me out on this, though. If you're looking to bet the Minnesota Vikings, Joe, for me in this game, I just come down to and say it's got to be on Justin Jefferson. If he's held below his number, they don't win this football game, because the way you attack that secondary for Detroit is the way you can win. And also, what's going to hold up on that defensive line? Aiden Hutchinson is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL this year. He's no longer going to be there. Does he come back for a Super Bowl run? Probably not at this point. But also, Aaron Jones, when he's healthy, that offense cooked. How healthy is he today, Joe? I don't know.
He's banged up, and Minnesota's second-best rush defense, so that's a cause of concern for Detroit.
All right, we've got the Jets and the Steelers, and that circus on deck.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from, just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the 1. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here on SportsGrid, the trio of important games staggered, right? Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, Niners, and then we get to Jets, Steelers.
Ooh.
This back-end one here, though, is for a little bit of different reason. It's not that we had two of the best teams in the league going head-to-head. It's that we have two circuses showing up, and they're going to put on their acts all at the same time. And quite frankly, the Jets conversation has gotten enough juice that I'm going to make sure we start with the Pittsburgh end of it, and I'm going to let Donnie lead off here. Mm-hmm. Donnie, the Steelers, with the dumbest charade I've ever seen played, shout out George Pickens, of we don't know who our quarterback's going to be, yet everybody in the world knows Russell Wilson will start tonight for Justin Fields. What do you make of that move? What does it mean for Pittsburgh?
Most people that understand football knew Wednesday when the reports came out, hey, by the way, Russ is going to take the majority of the first-team snaps. That means you're going to be the starter that weekend. But I do love the fact that Mike Tomlin loves to keep everything inside, and for some reason he can't reprimand or scold George Pickens for whether or not he even wants to play in football games, run the correct routes, or even just give information off. Last time we saw a wide receiver giving off information with a cell phone in the locker room, what happened? It was Antonio Brown, and he was shipped out quickly after that. So if we are focused on this game, let's just start with Russell Wilson starting as a quarterback. Everybody knows me. Love Mike Tomlin. Thought he was the best coach all along for the past decade. Making the right move to shift it over today. I like this move because for the first time, not buying into the Steelers, but understanding. Sometimes it's not about winning on a game-to-game basis. It's how good can we be for the season. This team will not reach its potential with Justin Fields, and I'm not even saying it's going to reach it with Russ. The one thing we do know is Russ can play point guard at quarterback. Justin Fields cannot do that. Good move to change the starting quarterback.
I disagree. That's from the passing perspective. The ability in the RPO game for what Justin Fields provides, 11 carries last week, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the ability just to break contain when the offensive line breaks down is something that Russ hasn't done over the latter part of his career, and that's the concern that I have for Pittsburgh, not in just this game, but big picture for the team overall. And the locker room, I understand that, okay, you got to buy into the guy under center. He's the leader. The coach makes the decision. But you have a player in Justin Fields that's 4-2 overall. 3 of the wins have come on the road. You could make the argument they could be 5-1 if the defense makes a stop at home against the Dallas Cowboys, and then you're going to turn to Russell Wilson. What happens, Kev, if this team drops 2 games, they're 4-4, and Russell Wilson is giving you the exact same productivity as Justin Fields? You're going to go back to Justin Fields then? Why'd you make the move in the first place?
Yes, so they will go back to Justin Fields at some point this season.
That's crazy.
They are putting in what is comfortably a worse quarterback. It's an embarrassing decision from a coach who, quite frankly, needs to be put on the hot seat because I don't understand what he's doing anymore. I really don't.
By the way, they'll go back to Justin Fields, 3rd-1 in the red zone.
No.
Perfect today.
I will take any action that he gets back under center this season. In fact, I'm open to the theory that he is sending Russ out there against the Jets
just doing them dirty?
Get destroyed, and Fields will get the job next week against the Giants.
Wow.
Here's what I don't understand, right? You keep undercutting what Fields does as a runner because you have to even attempt to make the Russell Wilson argument. It is nonsensical because you cannot ignore what Fields does as a runner for this team. In that process, then, we keep propping up Russ as a passer despite being a terrible passer since he left Seattle. His yards per attempt is the same as Fields. The deep ball accuracy is gone. The balloon ball that he used to throw and then Lockett was underneath every single Sunday does not exist. You're asking him to play point guard because of a completion percentage that isn't better than Justin Fields. He is just a worse quarterback across the board and then doesn't provide the mobility. This is an insane move from a coach who clearly got caught promising a guy a job he never should have promised him.
No, but he would never go back to him in that respect here. I didn't like the way it started out. I'm on record as saying that. If you're going to get Russell Wilson, let him be your starter. If you're going to get Justin Fields, at least open it up as a fair competition throughout training camp. And they didn't do that in Pittsburgh. That was, unless Russell Wilson was absolutely injured, and he was going to be the starting quarterback, which he wasn't. But as we move forward, it's just, sometimes it's so simple to see the body language of the wide receiving core, and that's George Pickens, who, quite frankly, I'll admit, doesn't have great body language in his first couple of years. But if you have wide receivers that understand when they run routes, Joe, tuxedo and they're not going to get the football accurately, it blows up your entire offensive scheme. The fact that George Pickens was willing on a Wednesday or Thursday to sit in front of the microphone and go, my coach just told me this, but you know what? I can't stand Justin Fields so much. I'm telling you right now, I'm probably wearing a tuxedo to the game on Sunday afternoon of how excited I am because I might actually get an accurate ball.
He caught 7 passes for $113 against Indianapolis. I mean, he threw for 300 yards. Can I bring up this point? What happens tonight if Arthur Smith calls this vanilla conservative game plan?
And they win.
Right? And they win 17-13.
Brilliant. That's the way you do it.
What are we doing here?
It's the only thing that matters.
Arthur Smith couldn't game plan Bijan Robinson in that offense last year. We're gonna count on Arthur Smith to elevate this offense now with Russell Wilson.
It's very Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah.
Because Michigan.
Alex Orji was your starter so far this season in Pittsburgh.
No.
You
know what, Donnie? You're right. And the biggest mistake Michigan made was not having the danger man as their quarterback all season because they have 3 quarterbacks who can't pass, but only one of them is electric in the run game, and they're like, maybe we'll have Tuttle open it up. And then instead, they went out and had their worst offensive performance in a half-decade. So now Russ gets the job, and that's only leg 1 of this circus. Davante Adams' debut. Sportsbooks, I must say, chef kiss, love it. Garrett Wilson's receiving yards, Davante Adams' receiving yards, the same. The receptions prop, not only the same number, the same juice. The only gap is Davante Adams, of course, has better odds to score a touchdown than Garrett Wilson. I adore this. I lean Garrett overs. He's got 100 yards in each game. Maybe I'm a fool. I don't know. I haven't bet it, quite frankly, yet. This is a Sunday special. If things go well, I'll bet this game. If they go bad, I'll bet this game. I haven't figured it out all too yet, but I can't wait to watch this play out from the Jets offense.
I can, Kevin. I'll say this about, the breakdown. I'm betting Aaron Rodgers to throw an interception. Why? Going up against that secondary? Because he's going to try and force feed Davante Adams, double covered, triple covered. He won't look Garrett Wilson, Donnie, his first look. It's going to be Davante each and every pass. That means sacks, turnovers, and interceptions, and I'll take that in regards to the matchup.
By the way, it might be like we saw at MetLife just a few short years ago. Remember Antonio Brown leaving the stadium? I'm out of here. That's Garrett Wilson right now at this point because he understands. And it's almost like I saw this coming a mile away. You can't add another alpha dog into that locker room when you already have an alpha dog, particularly when the alpha dog's, master, as you would say, is Aaron Rodgers coming and saying, hey, look, I got my guy back. Were they dapping it up? When Garrett Wilson and then met in the live, do you think they dapped it up? Or they did one of those, turned right around and had some words from I can't believe this, no, so-and-so was in the locker room with us. I can't wait to see this play out because I think it leads to Garrett Wilson being traded at the deadline. Because you're right. Davante Adams is going to get a 2-to-1 share from your number one wide receiver. Got 22 targets one week. He's going to be down to 2 targets.
I hope they get smacked tonight. I really do. I'm going to take the Steelers just because of the home field and the defense, and I'm not buying in that all of a sudden it's kumbaya.
You're a Russ hater.
You're
just a Russ hater.
I'm not. No, I'm taking the – what do you mean Russ hater? I'm taking the Steelers.
Oh, Jets.
Not. Listen, we all
pre-programmed in there.
Listen, we all know.
Here, Donnie. I like the Jets tonight because Russ is terrible.
I think, I'm going to, what? Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. Russell Wilson over, what is he, 180? That was steal of the century right there.
Hold on, I think
George Pickens over, touchdown passes over, Russ over. This is the coronation back from when we saw him with Pete back in the day.
174.5. It's not even more than the Fields numbers. It's crazy.
T.J. Watt, multiple sacks.
Najee runs harder.
Is a special out there,
we get 2 sacks in the
for who? TJ?
TJ.
Yeah.
Let's hold it.
Breaks the single game sack record tonight.
7 sacks.
Yeah, I hear. Does anybody know? Did Todd Downing get to keep the play calling responsibility? Rodgers like, yeah, all right, that was your fault. Let's get Hackett back under center. This is going to be incredible, and it's going to matter a lot to that AFC wildcard race. We have a few other games that will matter to the AFC wildcard race. The Cincinnati Bengals trying to make sure that they handle their business. They've not been great at that this season. And then Colts Dolphins, sneaky, really important. We'll break those down next here on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's get right into it here because we have Jets Steelers tonight, which will absolutely matter in this AFC wildcard race. Tackle him! Oh, my gosh, this is unreal. 10-0 lead. I keep betting on these trash cans, and I think I got a good bet in, and it just doesn't work out.
Now,
what are you doing? You got a money line bet in. Why do you got to do this? I got 6.5. You're not a team player.
Now,
What do you mean?
You're not a team player.
I cheer my own bet
No,
at
you're
this
not
point
a team
right now.
player. You're not a team player. You're secretly worse than him.
Right.
You're secretly worse than him.
I'm a big team guy.
No, you're both terrible.
Lisi.
Team Lisi. The I stands for Lisi.
Oh, boy.
Who
All
was
right.
that, by the way?
Who cares?
I'm just curious.
Would you have Parker Washington anytime?
No.
Anytime.
Marco,
Penn State.
Penn State. I was just going to say. There you go. Shot out of a cannon.
He
was shot out of a cannon.
I mean, at this point, Peterson's asking
He
for an
gave the
extension
number
right
one,
now,
too.
right? I mean, come
He
on.
was flying. Did you see the
Strike
number
while
one?
the iron's hot. Come on.
His team was a dog. And then Jacksonville just went on 21 on answer before half.
Total was the play. We missed it.
Here's what you do. They're
41.5.
down 21-10 coming up soon. Run, Ramondre, get him those couple key numbers.
Yeah,
sit him
that's all
down.
he needs.
That's
It's
it,
his
man.
best.
I love breakfast during football.
Breakfast and football.
Listen, to me, this really opens up the rush attack for New England. You can't let Drake May throw this game away. Let's get to Browns-Bengals here because, as I mentioned with the Jets, I think their season is very much on the line tonight. I don't think they can handle a loss. Cincinnati's, I don't know if it's on the line. I think this team is actually still going to make the playoffs. Just looking at their schedule, they should. But should with Cincinnati has not necessarily been great this season. They should have beat the New England Patriots in week 1. They should have beat the Commanders in week number 2, at least just based on the pre-game expectations. They should have rolled the New York Giants. Yep. Instead, they had their worst offensive performance since week number 1. They got the cover thanks to Chase Brown hitting his head on the goalpost instead of going down. Shout out to him. They should roll the Browns today, Joe. Do you think they will?
I don't think they do. I think it's an ugly type of game. The fact that they're on the road again in back-to-back road games, I think that's a reason to back Cleveland if I had to bet this game. Now, I was on Cleveland last week against Philadelphia, getting 8.5 points. I lean to Cleveland, Kev, with the 5.5 because Nick Chubb comes back. I think we're going to see more of a concerted effort to run the football consistently, work off of play action. Again, Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland Brown uniform to date this year, no game over 200. Expecting this to get through the 41.5 with a better passing attack on the other side. I just don't think you could do that. So it was the first time Cincinnati, right, knocking off the Giants, that defense showed themselves against a competent passing attack. Mm-hmm. I don't count week 1 against the Patriots and Jacoby Brissett as a test, right? That they shut down Daniel Jones, contained him, held that offense to 7 points. That was a team that put up 29 points the week prior against Seattle. I'll roll with Cleveland, but I don't love it, guys.
Well, it's hard to take Cleveland. Now, understandably, we understand that, the Cincinnati Bengals don't have a great defense by any stretch here. But there is a pedigree there, at least with the defensive coordinator, that they can turn up the screws. Now, if you're playing a really good team, it's like, all right, maybe they're going to give up points, and they have this season. You're not playing a very good team in this one. Understandably, Nick Chubb is coming back. Is it a ceremony that is coming back? Is he 100% healthy? Is he going to be able to tote the rock 15 times? We'll find out. But let's start here with the basics. Cleveland's offensive line, Joe, horrendous. Cleveland's quarterback, horrendous. Cleveland's wide receiving core now with Amari Cooper is horrendous. Look, even like two guys lining up today, 128 wide receivers ranked at Pro Football Focus. Two of them here, 128th and 122 out of 128. I just don't know how Cleveland is scoring. Now, wait till you see Sell Me Something. I'm going to sell you some beachfront property out there in the middle of the United States. But that's the simplistic look at this game. I look at Cleveland. They're an implosion away from just being bad. And Cincinnati, as much as we have them dead and buried, and rightfully so, if you just keep winning football games, things will take care of themselves, regardless if you're playing this Sunday, next Sunday, or 3 weeks. They should win this game, and I'm going to say if it's 4.5 or 5.5 out there, it should be by a touchdown. I would be embarrassed, again, if they didn't win this game by a touchdown.
And yet I don't think they will. I think we might have an opportunity to get on this train right before it really takes off. The Browns being a cover machine. Got it last week against the Eagles. And again, they were terrible in that game. Do not let anyone else tell you otherwise. But they got the cover. Now they check in against Cincinnati here, catching 5.5. I mean, again, this is about the number we saw Cincy lay to Carolina. That's a little tall. We know Burrow's somewhat of his kryptonite has been this Cleveland Browns football team. Nick Chubb is back. I think that matters. Nick Chubb is great. I'll call it like this. I'll trade you Amari Cooper for Nick Chubb for this football team. Amari Cooper has been legitimately terrible for Cleveland this year, and it's not been all Watson's fault in that relationship. Chubb is a superstar. Now, maybe he doesn't come back and look like the best running back in football, but don't forget that's the standard that Nick Chubb was giving us, was best running back in football. This Browns team gets a competent football player on the offense, and it'll feel incredible. I still am a believer that home field advantage matters. I'm on the Browns catching 5.5 here in this game, fellas. That's game number 1 of 2 that I think matters for the AFC wild card. Now, this next one, I'm sure many of you are out there like, no, I do not care. This does not matter. And maybe in the long run it will not. But it'll start, perhaps for one of these teams, the appropriate trajectory. Colts could go to 4-3, should be handling their business. Or the Dolphins can set Tua up for some success. Hey, man, we're 3-3. We held our own without you. He's going to be back next week, and he's going to be back against the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to be favored likely in that football game here, Lisi. What do you like in the Colts-Dolphins game?
I think this is a get-right spot for Miami. It has to be. They get the victory a couple weeks ago over New England. They grind it out 15-10. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle were all through their number. Huntley as well. I think this is another opportunity to build on that. You have to come out hitting on all cylinders. Joe Flacco's not going to get this started. It'll be AR. I think that's an opportunity for the defense to at least turn them over. You got to find a way to win it if you're Mike McDaniel. I actually like the Dolphins, Kev. Not just with the 3. I like them on the money line.
I'm going to go against that. I'm going to take the home team here, lay the 3 points. And it's simple for me to look at this game and analyze it and say, Stu Puntley's going on the road. It's a 3-point line. You're not investing in that. I agree with Joe, though, taking on the money line. It's not in the game that you say, well, I think the Dolphins can hang around and cover the 3. That's ridiculous. You actually have to believe that the Dolphins can win this game. I don't think they can win it. I don't think Huntley's a good enough quarterback. But having said that, if they can get a victory here, that is a Ferrari on offense with sugar in the tank right now, unable just to get started. Once they get their quarterback back, they'll be fine. Can they survive today? I just don't think so.
I'm on the under at 43.5. I thought this total was about a touchdown more than I would have anticipated here. Had to take a chance on that under. We'll talk more AFC wildcard picture next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid. We just talked a little Jets, Steelers, little Colts, Dolphins, a little Cincinnati Bengals, because I want to take a little bit of a chance to talk about the AFC's wild card picture. In front of you, you're going to see kind of all the teams who are about relevant right now. And the Raiders made the cut as well. That was probably a little bit friendly, I think, if we're calling it
Look, they
what
win
it
today.
is.
They're back into it, Kevin. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, I know. Maybe there'll be buyers at the deadline as well. For me, I went through a lot of these teams' schedules and, you know, within the pockets and the way I like to do win total breakdowns. I think the Chargers will be there. I think Cincinnati will be there. And then I think it's going to potentially come down to the winner of Jets Steelers tonight, if Tua is going to be back and ready to roll Miami. And I still think the team that we watched on Thursday in the Denver Broncos has a schedule that suggests they can get in range of that wild card spot. Of the teams, Joe, that we're kind of talking about here, anyone you feel strongly about being in or out?
Well, you stole my thunder because for me, it definitely is the Steelers. I mean, hands down, but I was going to go with Denver. And the reason why I brought up Denver is not how Bo Nix is potentially playing, but how they're running the football, how the defense played, not just against New Orleans, but how they played against the Raiders. And that was without Surtain in that lineup Thursday night. And they forced turnovers. They shut down the run. They make Alvin Kamara completely out of the game plan. 6 catches, 11 yards. If you can duplicate that over the course of the next 9 to 10 weeks, Donnie, from a defensive perspective, Bo Nix might not have to do all that much as long as he plays clean with the football and can add 76 rushing yards. They might win 10, 11 games.
By the way, also, we're taking a look at 7 teams getting in the playoffs. And for people out there, I liked it better when, like, 1 team got in the playoffs. This is why it's so much fun to have these conversations with legitimate chances for teams to come back. I think the Cincinnati Bengals and their fans are like, man, I wish there's only 6 teams that got in. No, we love the 7th team because it gives more opportunities late in the season to watch better football with chances for victory. Having said that, we just talked about a team 8th in the standings right now, the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen is an awesome head coach. How he wins football games, how they're 3-3, I don't know. But let's just say Anthony Richardson comes back and stays healthy, Joe, for the remaining parts of the season and plays decent football. Jonathan Taylor comes back from the high ankle injury. Now you have a formidable running game from a quarterback and running back position. And it looks like their wide receivers, who were all supposed to go on IR, now look like they're trying to give it a go. That's one of those teams I think so many people look at and just forget about. Because, yes, the Broncos are playing good football. The Dolphins are going to get their quarterback back. The Jets are sitting at 2-4 here, now getting Aaron Rodgers all the toys that he needs. The AFC is so much fun to watch. I think we might be forgetting about the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
My issue with the Colts, just again, and I look at that schedule, and it really will start to pick up. Now, today can go a long way, 4-3. I agree, Donnie. I think Shane Steichen's a very good coach. I'm not sure the amount of wins are necessarily going to be there for that football team. The trickiest for me when I was going through it, and I'm sure you guys would agree, would though be the Miami Dolphins, because I went through it before we knew Tua was going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
This is massive news. Even if they lose to the Colts at 2-4, I wouldn't necessarily call them DOA, right?
Yep.
Because now Tua is back, and we didn't know. I'm a little surprised how quickly we went from he'll play sometime this year to he's going to play next week. Donnie, that means that they're going to get a lot of football out of Tua, assuming he holds up the rest of the year. What does that mean for Miami?
It means that they should make the playoffs because, again, we're jockeying all for the same spots here. And the thought process when Tua went down is he might be done for the rest of his career. So write the Miami Dolphins off. Here's the thing I'm a little bit disappointed in, and I understand why they do it. Not every outlet where a team's just going to trade you a quarterback, like a competent backup quarterback. They're hard to find at this point in the year, and over the past couple of years, it's now more important to find that backup quarterback and keep them because quarterbacks get injured, it seems like, on a week-to-week basis, and you're still trying to get them for a game or two to make the playoffs. I'm just disappointed that we rolled with Snoop Huntley for so long because if you looked at the schedule, they're winnable games. Like that game against Tennessee, you should be able to put anybody at quarterback and beat them, and they got blown out in that game, Joe.
Yeah, if you look at those rosters that you put up on that list, the Dolphins have the most complete offense when Tua is in there, head and shoulders above everybody, right? You can make the argument there's multiple weaknesses from an offensive perspective on every team on that list outside of Miami. The only question is, can Tua hold up for 17 games, and can he just be, as confident, right, without, taking hits? Can he be confident to still step up? And that's going to be the biggest question mark. We'll see it next week, but, they should be a 10-win football team with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua.
Again, if they get there, I'm just telling you, Tua's going to have to creep into that MVP conversation. He's got it because the offense is atrocious without him, and a quarterback with 6 touchdowns is apparently
he's never going to have more touchdown passes than Mahomes.
I bet you he'll finish with more touchdown passes than that.
Whoa.
We'll be right back.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.